Okay, a very, very warm welcome. A little bit of technical things at the beginning, but here we are together, and I am so glad to be here with you. I'm going to pin myself so you can see me a little bit more easily. Spotlight for everyone. And I'm going to ring the singing bowl so we can really come into this moment together. Welcome. It's great to have you here. I know we are here from so many different parts of the world and gathering together in real time. So, and those of you who later are watching the recording, welcome to the recording. I know many of you, but if you're new to me, I am Nadia Colburn. I am here in Cambridge, Massachusetts, where it is an unseasonably warm day. So at solstice, normally I think of this as being a time of cold, of kind of going inward, and it feels like it's spring outside, which honestly is a little bit weird. And well, we know the world is changing in ways that I think our body feels a little bit unsettled about. And so this time also is about finding peace, finding center, finding calm, even in those times and those experiences that are a little challenging. Even sometimes the challenging thing can be that it's a beautiful day that's calling me outside on December 17th and it's 60 degrees here in Boston. Or, that the light gets, that it gets dark so early. Whatever it is, I actually invite you to take a moment. This time is for you. And check in with your body. How are you doing? Is there any part of your body, any part of your psyche or your spirit that wants a little extra attention? That feels maybe a little unsettled? I invite you to go back to that. Listen and see what it's asking of you. And if you want, you can just jot it down. Now I'm going to invite you to take another breath and go inside of yourself to that storehouse inside of you of experiences, and to that fundamental knowing that we have all the time of rightness, even when we're lost. And I invite you to find something in you that feels aligned, that brings you joy, some kind of anchor in something that you know to be true and that uplifts you in some way. And breathe into that. And call it up into your mind's eye. Feel it into your body. What senses does it call upon? What inner knowing? What points of connection? And bring that also into this moment, so that you have the things that are both perhaps feeling like they need a little alignment, and the things that feel grounded and aligned. And they're here together with us. Okay, I'm going to start with the first poem. If you're having technical difficulties, maybe you could sign off and come back on. The microphone is blurring my speech. Are other people having a hard time hearing me? I'm going to...
No, you're
No,
fine.
not at all.
It's
Not at
fine.
all.
It's fine.
Okay.
You're
thank
good.
I can hear you.
You're great.
you. Okay, thank you. So, if you're having technical difficulties, you're only seeing the chat, you're having a hard time, maybe log off or come back on, and then come back on. Thanks for that feedback. Technology is amazing and also confusing sometimes. Okay. I'm going to start with the first poem. This is the solstice poem, and it's called On the Shortest Day of the Year, but my secret title for it is Against Despair. On the shortest day of the year, even if there is only the smallest door, made of stone, with no handle, bend low, put all your weight into it. It opens onto the wide expanse of where you've never been, groundless, blue, and untranslatable. And there, just at the edge of your vision, a single purple flower, rooting down. So at that shortest time of the year, when we're feeling like the light is so low, there's a cycle coming though, right? And that cycle is both what's expected, but also the unexpected can come. Where we're going to is both where we've been before with the cycle of the seasons, but also where we've never been before with new possibility. So I'll read that again. And I love, Laura, the synergy. You said that your anchor was a purple columbine flower. So I'm reading from my book, I Say the Sky. And you can see that on the cover, I chose a botanical drawing that includes both the bulb of the flower with the roots going down into the earth and the little grape hyacinth flower that's reaching up to the sun, and also the greenery. So the full expanse of this flower. And we need to both root down and reach up. And that's really, for me, what this book was, what I was trying to do in this book. I say the sky, I'm reaching up to the sky, but I'm also rooting down to the earth and trying to encompass that whole cycle. So I'll read the poem again. On the shortest day of the year, even if there is only the smallest door, made of stone, with no handle, bend low, put all your weight into it. It opens onto the wide expanse of where you've never been, groundless, blue, and untranslatable. And there, just at the edge of your vision, a single purple flower, rooting down. So when I wrote the poem, I felt like I was trying to find an image or images for feelings, which is a lot of what I do as a poet, and I think what poets in general do, what many of us do as writers, right? There's something that's kind of untranslatable want to put into language. And so when I wrote the poem, then I went back and looked at it, and the first image is the smallest door made of stone, but you need to put all your weight into it. You might think it would be like a huge door made of stone that you need to put all your weight into, but sometimes that experience of breaking through something that seems like a solid wall, it has just a tiny little door, and you need to really almost compress your energy to fit through something so small to see that wide expanse on the other side. So I felt like my poem in part taught me that. The image actually surprised me. And when I'm teaching poetry, I often say, what surprises you in your own poems? That's often where there's like a little nugget of truth or something that hasn't maybe been said in the same way before. Okay, I'm going to read a few other poems. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to read you some poems, lead you in some meditations, give you some time to write, and then have time at the end for questions and conversation. This next poem is a little bit longer. And maybe what I'll do is I will share my screen so that you can read along with me, because sometimes it can be hard to understand a longer poem as you are hearing it, especially for the first time. So this is a slightly, I don't always do this, but I figure if we're meeting on Zoom, that's something that I can do. So let me share my screen. And this poem is called Smaller Even Than Last Week. And it's for my husband's grandmother, actually the grandmother of his stepfather, but he was raised by his stepfather. So he was very close with her. I was close with her. Our children knew her very well. And I think the only thing that's maybe helpful to know is that when I mention Hanover, she was a survivor of Auschwitz. Smaller even than last week, for Ruth. She sits in her wheelchair, huddled over the oxygen that is pumped through a paper cup up in the direction of her nose as she struggles for breath, ready or not for the great transition. Her son greets us with jokes, asks about our New Year's resolutions, about whether we saw the new store on the road before we turned off to the nursing home. She opens her eyes, grunts, tells him to stop. This is important work. We get up, put Mozart's flute concerto on the old boom box, and do not talk. I don't know if this is the proper material for a poem, the almost death of an old lady I have almost come to love. Why not? Why hesitate? And why call what I feel for her almost love? What stone within my heart prevents me from giving myself completely? At night when we are home, I think of her beautiful face, her eyelids always elegant, her smile at my daughter the same as it has always been. I think of her desire to protect the young, her mother dying when she was 10, and the Nazis soon to take over Hanover, she and her sister surviving only because they were twins. Protection, what she did not get, what she could not entirely give her own children, the suffering seeping out. This is not a poem about escape. The great transition is not an escape, but a turn in which we meet the self that we may not want to meet. And then what happens? Last year, at almost the same time, our friend's heart stopped for a moment. 2 months later, she saw shadows. They are coming, she said, terrified, fighting against them with all her force as I sat on her bed, the dark approaching, but nothing, not even her own 10-year-old twins could keep her fastened to this life. Darling, forgive me. Forgive me for what? I want so badly to live, sometimes I forget that I am alive, that this is enough, even the fear, the regrets, that we have each other, our children, this moment, that everything is a part. Even this difficult dance, the body getting smaller, thinner, the lips getting chapped, dried out, the heart getting ready to stop. Put the music on. Praise the sky and the stones that also breathe into this moment. Now, and then, something else. So I invite you to take a breath here. Let's take a breath here and remember our own aliveness, the journey that our life is, and the journey of the lives of the people around us. I invite you to come into alternate nostril breathing. So this is a very balancing breath. So we're going to block off the left nostril and inhale through the right. And then exhale through the left. And then inhale through the left. Switch nostrils and exhale through the right. So you'll go at your own pace. So you're going to exhale, inhale, switch. Exhale, inhale, switch. If you have a cold, you might want to just do long, deep breathing because this is hard to do with a cold. And then come back to regular breath through both nostrils, allowing your body to calm down if that's what it wants to do, or just being present with whatever it is that you're feeling. And I'm going to read you the end of that poem again, and then lead you in a short writing prompt. This is enough, even the fear, the regrets, that we have each other, our children, this moment, that everything is a part, even this difficult dance, the body getting smaller, thinner, the lips getting chapped, dried out, the heart getting ready to stop. Put the music on. Praise the sky and the stones that also breathe into this moment. Now, and then something else. So my prompt for you, and this is an invitation, you can do it or not, is to use the line, "This is enough." And then I'm going to give you 6 words that you can incorporate all of them or some of them or none of them. So those words are flute, fasten, escape, breath, twin, and forgive. And I'll put that in the prompt. And this poem is at the very beginning of my book.
What was the first word again?
I'll put it in the prompt. I put it in the chat, sorry. But just work with whatever you heard.
Can you give the quote again?
Excuse me, what was the quote, the line that you wanted us to use?
This is enough, and it's in the chat. As you're writing, breathe into your body. We'll just be here for a few more minutes. Be playful, see what arises, and remember to try to stay connected to your body. We'll have one more minute here, and then we'll come back together. So I saw that some people said that you surprised yourself through that. I love that when something surprising happens. Maybe, you wrote something that you love. Maybe you didn't write something that you love, but you had an insight. For me, I think poetry is both about what happens on the page and the way we can, bring words together that we can then share with others. But it's also about what happens inside of us, the way it opens up new possibilities, the way it allows us to feel things or realize things that maybe we knew on some level, but we hadn't fully brought into consciousness, or to feel things that we hadn't fully allowed ourselves to feel. So, yes, I love it that some of you are sharing. Thank you so much. Love this. Okay, I'm going to read another poem. This is a poem about birth. I happen to be a mom, but whether you're a mother or a father or don't have children, whatever stage of life you're at, I think this time of year when we're here at the solstice, right? It's when the light is getting to be the lowest, and then it's going to get higher again. It's at that time when we're about to enter a new year. And it's that point of connection. It's both beginning and endings. And we can realize, I think, that we're always at that point of connection, always at that point of transformation where, you know, when we take a breath, which we're doing all the time, let's just take another breath together. We're always in motion. There's the beginning of the breath and the end of the breath. And in the end is also the beginning. So I invite you over this, you know, roughly hour and a half that we have together to be aware of those points of connection in your own lives. And maybe as you leave this time that we have together, those points of connection will be more acute and beautiful for you. Beautiful for you. Okay, even if they're challenging. I'll share my screen again.
Hello, this is Sandy.
Hi. Okay. So if people could just stay muted, that would be great. Okay, I'm going to ring the bowl. Arrival. Not like Venus, come ashore on a shell, but out of my own body you arrived. First one and then the other. Son, daughter, as if time, those years between your births, were folded, and the two births became one double emergence. You and none other. The clouds part, and Helios rides the golden sun glowing across the sky again. But not forever. Counted are even the blades of grass, the blades of wheat, and among them two, born human, you, and I, the carriage and horse who brought you here, the unextraordinary and unmemorable woman, giving birth to this wonder, as if I were the chariot of the whole world's becoming. What happens every day? What is not infinite? What does not stay? So sometimes that awareness of the ephemeral nature of everything also is a heightened awareness of the preciousness. I'm going to read you a few more poems. You can just listen. Many of you know that I recently broke my right wrist. You know it's not a good thing when you go to the emergency room and they're like, you really went for it, didn't you? So I just went to so I needed surgery, and I just went to the surgeon yesterday, and he was like, yeah, you really went for it. Anyway, but I'm at a point of needing very painfully to try to get this hand moving again. So I thought I would read to you a poem called Hands. Seems appropriate. And it's also a poem about connection, you know, and it's also a poem about our vulnerability and power, both. You know, I just take for granted my body, my wrist, you know, when it works so well. And it's working a little better, but this one works pretty well. Anyway, so I invite you to take a moment to celebrate your hands. Hands. You who open for me each day, who close upon a pen, a hairbrush, a plum, a rock that I lift from the shore and throw into the lake. Two in unison, in opposition, one that, when the other is hurt, immediately helps. Hands, unprotected in the day, undangling, unshy, unself-conscious, not full of doubt, only yourselves. This next poem is called Teach Me, and it's also the first line of the poem. So I have a lot of the titles that also run into the poems as first lines. Teach me how to pray anywhere. Teach me that you live not only in the open field, the cardinals singing at first dawn, but also in the concrete parking lot of the Everett Mall, in the flashing lights of Old Navy, in the wires crossing the open expanse above me. The cars speed down the highway, their tires spin, spin. There is so much work to do. Dark oil flows over the whole land. Teach me how to praise your whole body. And I think that's very much the project of this book, is how do we find acceptance and also praise for everything as it is, even those things that we don't condone, right? Like the use of oil in our world is really problematic. But how do we nonetheless, how do I, because these are lyric poems, and to some extent I'm asking these questions of myself, of spirit, of universe, of wisdom, how do I praise the world as it is, even with all the challenges? So going into those challenges, I think I'll read a poem called Rage, R-A-G-E, like anger. Sometimes I can't pronounce my R's perfectly, so. Like all the stars, like the dark that is again and again pierced, like the silence that will not close, like the flames that keep you away with their heat, all you could not say billowing in that conflagration. No, like the flames that draw you in, that open their mouths to lick, to bite, to chew all the molecules and transform matter itself into smoke. What can't be touched. So I'll read that one more time. Actually, maybe I'll share the screen with you. Because, you know, that fire of rage is something that we want to be able to harness. And it's part of our creative power to have that energy of anger also and see what it wants to become. So let me see where this is. Okay, I'll share the screen. So there's a turn. I offer one kind of simile for what rage is like, and then I say, no, it's actually like something else. Rage. Like all the stars, like the dark that is again and again pierced, like the silence that will not close, like the flames that keep you away with their heat, all you could not say billowing in that conflagration. No, like the flames that draw you in, that open their mouth to lick, to bite, to chew all the molecules, to transform matter itself into smoke. What can't be touched. So let's build a little heat together at this time of year. If you've done this with me before, you'll recognize it. This is called ego eradicator. Sometimes the problem with anger is it traps us in our ego, but we can use that energy, that heat, that redness, that fire, if we kind of get out of our own way And so what we do is we put our thumbs up. I can only kind of do it with, half do it with this hand, and put our arms up at 60-degree angle. And then we're going to be doing breath of fire. So, and Kristen, you asked about the colon at the end of the poem. I'll just respond to that quickly. So instead of ending with a period, I end with a colon. And a colon's kind of like, this is what comes next, right? I'm going to explain. And so I didn't want to close the poem down. I wanted the poem to open up to like, what does that rage become? What does come next? It's almost like an invitation. It keeps going. And then maybe into the next poem, maybe into the rest of the book, gets kind of transmuted. So, okay, so we're going to do this breath of fire where we're panting like a dog on a hot day. You can put your hand on your belly and you're kind of pumping the navel center. And we'll be here just for a few minutes, but it builds a lot of heat quickly. If you feel tension in your arms, it's probably not actually your muscles. It's probably more toxins being released. Listen to your body, do what's right for you, and we'll be here together. Again, your thumbs up. Keep going, you're doing great. And you can imagine looking out through your third eye, that point between your brows, opening up to some insight. Inhale and bring your arms above your head, touch your thumbs together, and keep the breath suspended. Inhaling, inhaling, inhaling. Feel that energy circulating within you. Keep the suspension. When you want to exhale, instead breathe in a little more. And when you can't hold the breath anymore, let it go. And just notice how you're feeling. And I'm going to invite you into a prompt. I invite you to write about something that builds heat. It could be anger, it could be love, it could be something else, but something that builds heat. And I'm going to give you 6 words to work with, okay? So those words are stars, pierce, flame, lick, transform, and touch. And I'll put that in the chat. Thank you, Katie. Thank you, Katie. And see if you can feel that heat in your body. Where do you feel the heat? Right from that heat. Take one more minute here. The way we can generate that heat is a reminder of our life force, our energy, right? So instead of pushing it away, what if we get curious and learn how to use it? And that heat, that energy, that's part of our creative energy too, which is rooted in those root chakras, the navel center, the sex organs, right? That's what grounds us down to the earth, what anchors us. And so as you're going about this time, I don't know about you, but even today I was feeling like I had a lot happening, and I went to the doctor yesterday, and I think every time I get back from the doctor, I'm a little bit tired, maybe is the word. And so allowing myself, allowing all of us in this season to also root down, to feel that heat, what grounds us, what gives us connection, even in this busy and dark season. So I'm going to keep reading with that fire imagery. My throat is a fire, is a line of birds waiting to rise up from still water. Is the earth dark and heavy with spring rain? Is the air, as the mist lifts, sighing, ready to let go? This next poem, I wrote a lot of the poems in this book when I'd wake really early. I went through a period where I woke really early, and instead of trying to go back to sleep at a certain point, I just got up and went out for a walk at dawn. And this is one of my dawn experiences. Outside, the sparrows are awake, and all the complications in my heart. I, who did not know how to love my own body, who mistook the world for a task. Listen, one voice, and then another, amid the rustling of the leaves. I think of poetry also as being about deep listening, about, again, that point of connection that we get through attention and through listening. So listening to those sparrows at dawn was also a way of being alive to the world, being alive to myself differently. There are just so many lessons that come to us when we pay that kind of deep attention that often we don't get in school. Here's another morning poem with the birds. Today, like yesterday, and the day before, it's happening. It's so simple, I hardly need any language. Right here, right there, through the window. And in the trees, hardly visible, the birds are back and going about their own business. Do they remember their long journey, the tall buildings, the wires? Are they singing for the ones who are absent? Are they, like me, singing to welcome in the dawn? While everyone else in my family is sleeping, the city is taken over by their song, and everything, bathed in the silver light of morning, is part of another story and its own. So we can think of all these intersecting stories that we can be aware of and that just fill me with so much wonder. Thank you so much, all of you who are sharing your poems. Maybe I'll just read Delia's if that's okay. Sitting under the stars, reflected on the lake, we pierced our marshmallows, held them over the flame licking, burning to teach greedy fingers to wait patiently. Nice memory. Beautiful. And I can't keep up with the whole chat, but also maybe Katie, you could put some of those links into the chat now if you're here. I love these. Thank you all so much for people who are in the chat. But if you're looking for a gift for people for the holidays or for any time or for yourself, I hope you'll consider this book. Many people have told me that it gets that the experience of reading it deepens over time. And someone asked me yesterday in my Poetry of Attention class to talk a little bit about how I put the book together. So maybe I will do that, talk a little bit about how I put the book together. And I'll just also say quickly that when you order the book, either for yourself or for a friend, it comes with a 7-day mindful writing challenge. So you get, and it's completely free with the book. So you get the a series of meditations and writing prompts and writing time. And it takes you really through a whole meditative journey, a kind of emotional journey. And you also get a recording of this event. So, and then you can gift that to people if you like, so that I really think of poetry as an interactive experience. I write poetry largely because I read poetry, and I read poetry because I write poetry. And I think of it as a dialogue, very much a dialogue between other poets, and as a way of listening to the birds, to the trees, to the sky, to the rocks, to other people, to other people's stories. And so I think of this as a way to share that process of, it's like kind of pass on the inspiration, and we're all inspiring one another and all participating. So it's not just a passive experience, but really an active and creative experience of reading and writing. So yes, and Marlene, that would be great to meet you. And so, yeah, maybe Katie, you could put the links in the chat again for anyone who wants to order the book. And also there's a place where you can sign up if you want to gift the book to someone so that they can get those gifts, or if you want to get it yourself so you can get those free things with it. So the book starts with the first poem that kind of asks a question about opening to hold the different experiences, including the death of some people, but also the beauty of the world. And it also looks at kind of the moment that we find ourselves in, both the historic moment and also the ecological moment. So real challenges that we have, and asking how do we hold this all? How do I hold this all? And then from that point, it goes to turning to myself a little bit more and asking, well, what are also the things that I am holding in my own body? What's my own story? And then the book goes back to my childhood and to, well, first it has a section about anxiety and the kind of like energy of uncertainty. And then it goes back to my childhood, and it kind of unearths some childhood traumas and works through that, and works through the silence that was around those traumas or that trauma. And I think whatever the particular trauma is, many of us have experiences that have in some ways silenced us, and that we're writers in part because we are responding to that silence and transmuting that silence through our writing, turning it into something different. And then the rest of the book is in just different sections about kind of coming into greater acceptance while still holding everything. You know, it's not a kind of, again, acceptance is not condoning, but understanding of what is, so that we can then make choices and see the world differently and act in the world differently. So actually, speaking of that, maybe I will read another poem called Power. And I will share my screen with you again so that you can see it with me. And my hope for the book is that it really takes you on an emotional journey of transformation and growth, but without it being easy in any way. And the book cycles through several years and also through the times of day, so that we get that kind of sense of seasons and cycles. Okay, I'm going to share my screen again. Thank you, those of you who are here. You'll also get the recording. And happy holidays to everyone. So we'll go for another maybe half an hour, and I'll have some time before we end where people can ask questions as well. Okay, I'm going to share my screen and go to Power. My scrolling is a little slower with my hand. So thank you for your patience. Power. I think it is here. Ah, so many. Okay, here it is. Power. I'll ring the bell. Power. I turn the questions over and over when I cannot sleep, when my mind will not turn off. The waters of the ocean creep up the shore. The temperature slides up 1/2 degree, then more. The high glacial shelf in the Arctic breaks off. What is it that I want? At my daughter's camp at night when it's hot in the dark, the girls take off their clothes at the docks at the lip of the lake for special swimming. I want to take off my clothes for special writing, in a dark that is soft, in the water that will hold me, my body still a girl's, with the whole world before me, opening in song, the words not yet written on the page. Oh, letter by letter, as the oil, drop by drop, is coaxed from the earth, is held together, broken apart, taken into the guts of fish, their cells, our mouths, our milk. Dare we ask for what we really want? So I'll just go through the poem. Maybe I'll read it just one more time. So this poem is, again, looking at both the environmental moment that we see ourselves, but also that level of innocence that all young people have, right? They go skinny dipping on a hot day, they take off their clothes, they have so much fun. And can my writing be that place to kind of get naked, to have that freedom? So that's kind of my invitation to myself and also my invitation to you. And then to ask, what is it that we really want, both individually, but also as a society? Where is our true power, right? And I think at this season, we're kind of conditioned to think a lot about consumption. How can we put that power inside of ourselves in a different way? Power. I turn the questions over and over when I cannot sleep, when my mind will not turn off. The waters of the ocean creep up the shore. The temperature slides up 1/2 degree, then more. The high glacial shelf in the Arctic breaks off. What is it that I want? At my daughter's camp at night when it's hot in the dark, the girls take off their clothes at the docks at the lip of the lake for special swimming. I want to take off my clothes for special writing, in a dark that is soft, in the water that will hold me, my body still a girl's, with the whole world before me, opening in song, the words not yet written on the page. Oh, letter by letter, as the oil, drop by drop, is coaxed from the earth, is held together, broken apart, taken into the guts of fish, their cells, our mouths, our milk. Dare we ask for what we really want? I invite you to take a moment here and come back to your breath and come back to your body. And what is it that you really want? Maybe take a moment. It can be a poem, or maybe it's just some notes to yourself, or maybe it's just to sit there and massage a part of your body. What is it that you want? And where does your power reside? What does power mean for you? For so much of my life, I grew up feeling like power was something negative because it's often misused. But how can we reclaim power within ourselves as something positive? Take a few moments to respond to that. And then at the end, I'll have some time for questions also. So we'll come back together in maybe 30 seconds. What you're putting in the chat is so moving. Thank you all, everybody. It's really beautiful. I'll read a few more poems and then open it up for some questions if you have any questions. And I have, as I said, much longer meditations and prompts and writing times and a whole writing journey in that 7-day challenge that comes with the book. So I hope you might enjoy that. Okay, this is another midwinter poem. It's called Midwinter. I think it's okay to write another poem about the light, about the white heron who rises over the black oil spill at the edge of the city. I don't know if the heron is full of joy as she lifts her long torso up, as she hurls herself. Is that what she does? Airward. I don't know whether the heron is going home or whether she lives here, whether she escapes suffering or more probably not. I do know there's no need to apologize for my own gladness today, midwinter, that has no apparent cause in the daylight cast from the sun. And I'll read 2 more short poems. Onion. Wrapped in your own paper-thin gold, your roots shoot earthward, your top stretches to the sun, bulb, full as birdsong. And then this poem, because this too will happen at the end of winter, spring will come again. So this poem is called March. March. All winter, and I guess I'll say a few things about this poem. So this poem, speaking of connection, this poem is inspired by Thich Nhat Hanh, who talks about drinking the clouds, right? Because we're interbeings. So when we drink the water, we're really drinking the clouds. When we drink the tea, we're really drinking the clouds. And he reminds us the ways in which everything is, the Buddhist teacher, Thich Nhat Hanh. So this poem is called March. All winter we walked on the fallen sky, walked on clouds until we fell thigh deep to earth. Now the clouds are running down the side of the mountain in small, hidden rivers. What in you needs melting? What do you do with your anger and your hope? All night, down the side of the mountain, waters run together where we cannot see. Underneath, the earth is awakening. Once more, the tips of bare branches put out new buds. Again, they clasp their small palms together in prayer. So that joining of hands in prayer is all the more poignant to me now as one of the exercises I need to do. And that actually that prayer position is this place where our hands meet is that place of symmetry in our body. And across traditions, there's that prayer position, that place of connection with the self, which is what I think poetry also is, a place across traditions that we connect with ourself, and in connecting with ourself, connect with the world around us, with others, with language, with other writers and other readers. So thank you all so much for being here. I know some of you had questions about the 7-day challenge that comes with the book. If you go to my website, you can sign up for the challenge. You just need an order form. If you don't have an order form, send me an email and we can figure it out. And if you want to sign up for someone else, then there's that gift bundle that's also on my website, and that Katie can send a link to again, where if that's a gift that you want to give to someone else, then after the holidays, we can send that to the other person so they don't get it right away and are like, what is this? Are there questions? I see one hand. Are there other, do you want to maybe actually put your questions in the chat? What might be easier way to do the questions. So Raghav, if you could put your question in the chat, that would be fantastic. And if you had questions earlier that you asked that I didn't get a chance to answer, please put it in the chat again. I would love to respond to your questions. And I want to encourage you as you're going about this time to keep checking back in with yourself, keep breathing. Turn to poetry. It can be like a little mini vacation. Turn to your writing also. It can be a beautiful way to settle in and have that time for yourself. Even 15 minutes can really shift your whole day. Thank you all. Raghav, did you have a question that you wanted to put in the chat?
Yes, Nadia, I'm still typing. I'm so
Okay,
sorry.
sorry. Charlene asked, can I talk more about the use of punctuation in my poems? Yes, I'm inspired in part, I think, by Emily Dickinson, like so many people who use punctuation to, she has her dashes, right? Like that something isn't completely finished. I feel like a period finishes things, and I want often my punctuation to show an extenuation of the words, of the idea, a kind of opening up that I do with dashes and with colons often. I also use empty space on the page to show kind of the spaciousness between words. Are there other questions? I agree, we need peace and tranquility. You can send the holiday gift bundle to definitely more than one person. If you want to buy, it comes with the book. So for every book that you buy, you get the holiday gift bundle with the book. So that's a really nice way to, that 7-day challenge, and they'll also get the recording of this, is a really beautiful way that people can practice together and have some meditation and some writing and go on a journey together, and then share that experience together. So yeah, that definitely comes with the book for whoever you want to give it to. The value of writing without an audience, writing poems that don't get seen or read by others. I love that question. So I think that our writing is always a point of connection. And we can be very focused on connecting with others, but the most important connection is with ourselves. And I'm thinking here also about, I don't know why it's just coming to me at this moment. I haven't answered this question this way before, but I'm thinking about Thich Nhat Hanh's teaching and many people's teaching, that you can continue to heal your relationship with people even after they passed from this lifetime, right? So what does it mean to be alone? What does it mean to be with ourselves? We carry so many other people with us. And in language itself, when we use language, language itself is a point of connection. So I think about people writing in prison camps, writing like Mandelstam, writing in the Gulag. They didn't know that their poems were going to get out that writing, the use of language, when we use language, we're connecting to humans. We're connecting to a long tradition. When we use poetry, we're connecting to the tradition of poetry. And so what that poem creates inside of us, like the healing that we do with our family members or ancestors, even after they pass, that is a point of connection and transformation, whether someone else reads it or not. Yeah. So if you already have the copies and you want to get the challenge, just send me an email if you no longer have the order form. And this 7-day challenge is the same as last year. Yeah, but it's fun to do again if you want, or share with others. Are there other questions? How long do I spend working on a poem? Wait, I just saw that. Sorry. Sometimes you heard, don't overthink a poem after it's been written. You've worked on a single poem for years as both cathartic, but also perhaps not prioritizing. And sometimes it transforms as I evolve. Is this also legitimate poetry? And so first, let me just answer that question. Yeah, I think that sometimes you can overwork a poem. I generally have the attitude that when you're not sure you're making something better anymore, then stop working on it. Sometimes that first take is the most important take, right? Like that's where the energy is. That said, I love the revision process. And so I often talk about revision being like jazz. You don't need to feel like you have to get to the one final perfect version. You can learn things through the revision process and surprise yourself and reread yourself and update yourself, try on new things, experiment with yourself, all in the revision process. So instead of feeling like you have to get it quote unquote right, you can feel like I get to play, I get to try things in a different way. I get to kind of have a new jazz orientation to this poem. And so, yeah, there can be many versions. And that can be fine, right? That can be kind of fun. So I think the most important thing is to feel like the process is alive for you. And if the process is feeding you, great. And if the process stops feeding you, then stop and move on to the next poem. Move on to the next thing. But I really find that sometimes, reading my work can be itself, that process of deep listening to myself is super, super informing, right? I learn a lot about myself by reading my own work. And sometimes my work knows things about me that I didn't even know that I knew. That said, I guess I want to also say that when I started to bring meditation to my writing practice got much more fluid. So I used to sit and work on a poem for a long time. And then when I started meditating and really having a regular writing practice, it was almost like the poems were forming inside of me. And then I would sit and meditate, and then I would just kind of turn the spigot on and the poem would come out. And did the poem come out just in 10 minutes, or was the poem kind of forming from all of my life? Like how long does it take to write a poem? As long as it is that we've lived up until that point, because all of us comes into that moment of writing a poem. But anyway, but the actual writing time got much faster once I started to really have that meditative practice and bring my writing and meditation together. When writing for publication, do you have to edit to follow rules such as where to end a sentence or use of punctuation? Well, I think with poetry, there's a long tradition now of poets playing with punctuation. So most poetry magazines understand that, but they might ask you to kind of, is this what you mean? And an editor sometimes might suggest something different. I've had editors who say, hey, would you be willing to change this line or that line? And either I am or I'm not, but there's a kind of dialogue about it sometimes. But don't change your poem for an editor unless you feel like it makes sense that you're changing it. Um, thank you, Jackie. Navigating the publication process, how you put the book together, what the editing process was like, etc. So I shared a little bit about the structure of the book, and it took me a long time to come to that structure. I had a lot of poems. Honestly, when I wrote a lot of the poems in this book, I wasn't thinking about writing a book at all. I was getting up early and I was writing poems, and it was kind of, that experience of writing for myself, of having that deep interaction between me and the poem, and sometimes the birds. And then I put them all out and started to think, what are the themes here? What's emerging? And I read them and I saw the kind of common themes, and then I kind of put them in bundles, and the book is a little bit chronological. There is a kind of journey of healing through the book, and so that's a little bit of chronology of how I wrote the poems, but also wanted to get that, aside from the chronology of how it was written, I wanted that to be part of the structure of the book, but I didn't want it to be too simple, like problem in the beginning, problem solved at the end. I wanted there to be that kind of sense of cycle and the same themes coming again and again. And I ended up not using a number of poems, not because I didn't like them, but because I had another poem that did something really similar, and I didn't want poems doing kind of the same thing in the same book. So maybe I'll use it for another time. Do my poems ever surprise me? Yes. Are there poems that I don't quite understand that I've written? Yes. And those are always really interesting. And that's often, I would say, those of you who've been with me before know that I talk about, and I referenced in this reading, and there's a section about childhood trauma in this book. That experience actually started to emerge through poetry before I really consciously understood what was happening. But my poems were kind of going over something. It's like, what is it that I want my consciousness to go back to and to look at more carefully? And it was my poems that were bringing me there. But there could be other things, like even just the little example of you need to put all your weight into the smallest door. Like, I think that image works, but why does that image work? Oh yes, sometimes it's like fitting through the eye of the needle. So I think when you write something that you don't understand, there's often a really interesting message there for you. I love that when that happens. So I prefer if you buy the book either from a bookseller, you can buy it from Amazon, you can buy it from my press, you can buy it from a local bookstore. If you're out of the country, you can buy it out of the country as well. It's a little bit hard for me to get to the post office, but if you can't get it from another place, you can also, I don't actually even know if there's a place to buy it directly from me on my website. I think there was another question about, are there moments that I struggle to find the right words to express how I feel? Yes. And I think definitely more though in the past. I had that experience of struggling, kind of like there's something there and it's hard to get it out, more before I had a meditation practice. And I just feel in general that having a meditation practice and having an embodied practice, having a practice where I'm more grounded in my body, there's more flow. And so things in general don't feel quite as stuck. So I would say sometimes I'm searching for that word, or I'm searching for the image, and I try a few different things, or I put the work away and I come back to it later. Or sometimes I'm in the middle of doing something else. And, oh, this is what it maybe I want to put in that place. But it feels less angsty and struggleful than it used to when I was younger. What about when poems are from 1 to 2 pages? Is that not ideal, as people want shorter attention span? Well, there's the kind of like Instagram poem, which is really short, but there are lots of poems that are really long. I have some poems in my, well, I read some poems, like the poem to Ruth, that was several pages. That's completely fine. Not a problem at all if poems are long. And in poetry of attention, for example, we study at the end of the course a book-length poem by the poet Ross Gay. So his book, Beholding, is all one poem. And it can be really exciting to write a whole book-length poem. So I would say, you know, write poems that are the structure and length that work for the poem itself. Thank you for your wishes for my hand and for the holidays, everybody. Would I recommend using writing prompts for a meditation group not oriented towards poetry? Yeah, I think it's really beautiful. So when I used to have this question about, well, when we meditate, we're supposed to be in silence, right? We're supposed to be dropping the story. But then when we're writing, we're coming into language and we're kind of coming into story. And how do those fit together? And I used to think there was some kind of paradox, but I think actually they're really beautiful because we come into silence and then we come back into language, and we go into silence and we come back into language, and we stop the story and we pause it and we turn around and we think, is this the story that I feels aligned for this moment? Does it need to be revised in some way? And then we come back into story. We don't live our life completely in silence, but we don't want to live our life completely chattering all the time either. So we want that back and forth. And I think it can be a really beautiful complement to a meditation practice for anybody, whether you're kind of like consider yourself a writer or not. I'll also say that when I was starting to meditate, my meditation teacher told me, you know, if you're finding recurring thoughts or finding it hard to stay focused on meditation, jot things down in a notebook. The page can hold the thoughts and then your mind is freer. And I thought, yes, that's exactly what I tell my writing students. So one way to actually free the mind and the body is to put the words on the page, and then the page holds it. And then you have more freedom in your meditation practice, or just in your life in general. I saw there was another question. What is the best advice when we get stuck, not allowing ourselves even that 15 minutes you suggested, when our to-do deadline feels imposing and we can take the time but don't? That's a great question. You know that you have 15 minutes, but your to-do list is so long and you're in that kind of rush and you don't do it. So I would say the more you practice taking that time, the easier it will become. Put it at the beginning of the day. I've had something similar with my wrist. So even though I'm a yoga teacher, sometimes it's hard for me to just do yoga in my own house. So often I'll go out of the house and do exercise out of the house, go to a yoga class, have my dance class that I love. This is related. It seems like a tangent, but I can't do those things. Well, now I can actually do this, but I really couldn't. Like, I was just in a splint and like could hardly move my arm. It's now been a month since my surgery, and it still has a long way to go. It was a big surgery, but anyway, but I had to do exercises right here on my yoga mat, and it gets easier and easier. I'm remind myself, okay, I'm going to just take that time at X o'clock and I'm going to sit down and do it. So I actually put it on my schedule. I'm going to do it at X o'clock. And then the more I do it, the more I'm actually looking forward to it. Oh, that actually feels really great. I don't need to go to a yoga studio. I can do this modified practice with my modified body and really enjoy it. And I think the same thing is true with writing. So make it a practice that you're looking forward to. So maybe light a little candle for yourself. Give yourself a cup of tea. If you have a little bit of ceremony around it, something that your body actually does again and again, you'll come to actually look forward to it. And when you take that time, the rest of your day is more spacious. So the Dalai Lama always says, when you really have a busy day, that's when you need an extra hour of meditation. It will fuel the rest of your day. Okay, Magav. So you completed a single reading Gary Snyder's Mountain and Rivers Without End. His poem Ma is one I wailed at for 10 minutes or more, stopping and sobbing in waves. Immediately following this, I started reading I Say the Sky and find myself crying similarly at how simply both of you describe mothers in such a simple, honest manner. Could you talk to us about the poem and how you viewed your own mother as you wrote that most moving piece? So is the piece that you're talking about the arrival poem about being a mom, but also then how my relationship with my own mother? So I'm not sure, but I actually was very close with my mother, but also have a very difficult relationship with my mother. And so I think that holding of opposites that I talk about so much, and I think the holding of the suffering and the joy at the same time, I think that's so important to me personally because I have to do that with my own family of origin. I hope that my kids will feel differently. I hope that they don't find that their relationship with me is as fraught. I don't think they will. But I have to say about being a mother, it's been one of those places where I've been felt just so blessed to have a really wholehearted experience, like not to have any ambivalence, really. Sometimes it's hard, of course. And the time and like work life and all those things can be hard, but just the mothering for me has been just a total gift. But thank you so much for comparing me to the Gary Snyder. And it's my deepest kind of honor when my poems move people. That's really my hope, is that there can be that emotional connection. So thank you so very much. How often do I use prompts for generating poems? You know what I do sometimes, or very often, is I'll read and I'll be very intentional about what I'm reading. So I often read Rumi. I'll often read Rilke. Sometimes I'll read Mary Oliver. I'll go through different periods where I'll read different things. I went through a period where I read Joy Graham a lot when I was younger. Auden. So the reading often inspires my poems. And then from the reading, I can kind of come up with a prompt sometimes. Thank you. I'm so glad that, these things triggered feelings, emotions for you. I hope that you wrote pieces and had experiences that you can take beyond this session together. I think obviously many people have left, but those of you who are still here, I wonder maybe Katie, you can post the links again, and I'd love to ring the bowl again and invite you to come back to yourself, take a breath, and let's do that, and then I'll tell you what's next. So I invite you to go back to connect to yourself and maybe connect to that first thing that we did. What feels a little wobbly, a little out of alignment, and also what feels anchored for you. And then what do you want to take in your own experience from this reading with you out into the rest of your day, the rest of your week, into the holiday season, into the new year? What do you have within you already that you just want to bring up to the surface a little bit more and cultivate, and practices that you want to return to at that time of day, maybe with a cup of tea or a candle, whatever it is, so that you have that ceremony and practice and kind of habit, positive habit that you're building into your life. So take a few moments here. So thank you all so much for being here. I will send out the replay. That should be available for kind of indefinitely, to be honest. I'll just gift it to you. You can have that. If you have other questions that are kind of specific, like an editor, reach out to me about specific things. You know where to reach me. I'll have other opportunities for writers coming up, some free opportunities, some more long-term opportunities coming up in the new year. So I would love to see you there. Does anyone want to share any last minute thoughts, or not last minute, but last thoughts or reflections, or anything that you want to say aloud to kind of, I don't, cement is the wrong word, but to help actualize what it is that you're feeling and what it is that you have come to at this time together? Feel free to unmute yourself.
Sort of a soft filling.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I feel there is hope in this world and support and safe spaces that we can find, like spaces you provide for everyone. Nadia, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Nadia. I am inspired.
It feels like first holiday gift.
So keep giving to yourself. You know, the more you give that gift to yourself, the more you'll be available for others. Really, it's not a zero-sum game. Feed yourself so that you can nourish others, and pause so that you have more spaciousness. Pausing actually creates more expansiveness.
Nadia, thank you so much for sharing from your heart and your soul. And you just keep giving and giving and giving and creating this sacred space. And now we are all in a position to go make other people's lives better. So you have affected hundreds and hundreds of people. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. That really means a lot to me. And as I was sharing, I was feeling a little rocky today after my doctor's visit, and I think my energy is always low after I go. I kind of like, it's tiring. So actually being with you has really fed me also. I feel like I have also received from all of you a lot of healing and love, and communal love, and hope and strength and peace, all of those things. So I feel really grateful to you all.
Nadia. Hi, this is Natalie from Ohio.
Natalie.
And I want to wish you lots of healing moments. You are very inspiring to me. And I finally feel like I have a tiny little voice of how I'm feeling, truly feeling like from the heart, trying to heal my brokenness throughout, my life. And so I appreciate you, and just wanted to let you know that want you to have good healing and all that.
Thank you so much. And as Rumi says, the wound is where the light enters, right? So here we are in our beautiful broken world and in our beautiful broken amazing lives, right?
Yes.
So thank you.
I'd just like to thank you, Nadia, and ask for all of your blessings as I take a final step on my tobacco addiction. So thank you. I really helping me build resilience. So thank you. And I request all your blessings. Thank you.
Yes, I'm sending you so many blessings. And I know that strength and light is within you. So I believe in you, and I know you believe in you. And I think that's the key to healing, is believing in the impossible because it's possible, right? Believing in the possibility of change, looking through that little doorway to that vast expanse that's there. So blessings to you.
And having been where, whoops, sorry. Having
That's
been
okay.
where you are and having had a broken wrist also, I understand so strongly. And one thing that was an insight for me is that we come in twos. We come in two hands, two arms, two lungs, eyes. And even when I had eye difficulties, one thing I learned is that they are like twins, and that one hand will affect the other and one hand talks to the other. And so sometimes we tend to think, oh, this is the one that's not working and this one is. But to remember the communication between the two and how the right hand, or whatever the good hand is, can affect the damaged hand through some kind of, communication. And this gesture is a very, very good one of love from one hand to another. But that was something I didn't understand until I had had one arm broken, and then I knew that. So think about it. Maybe talk to the two hands.
Yeah, thank you. And that's what my poem Hands is about. But I didn't, that's an example of writing something that has a totally different meaning later, right? Like that. So thank you. I will definitely listen to that. And it is really amazing, right? Our two sides, that wholeness and doubleness that we carry all the time, and that doubleness is part of the wholeness, and that we're always in dialogue with ourselves, which is going back to the question, what if you're writing but not for other people to read, but like the hand is in dialogue with the hand, and the heart is in dialogue with the mind, and we're in dialogue with our own poems, and but also in this community. So thank you.
Yeah. Very strange.
Thanks, Nadia. This is Pam from Philadelphia.
Hi,
Uh,
Pam.
yeah, great to see you. Great to see everyone on from Drexel University. I will be in touch in the new year, but I'm looking forward to using today's prompts when I go away to Atlantic City and just looking out at the ocean and be able to pull something together around heat. I made notes as I was in the moment that I would like to look forward to developing, and I'll share those. And I was excited to have a guest who's off now, but she was my first poetry teacher that I took at Drexel University. She's retired from Drexel, and she was on for the first time today.
Thank you so much for sharing that, and also for, expanding the community. And I love that, and I'm glad you say that, because I gave people, just a little bit of time and short prompts today, but you have little bits that you can take with you. Keep working on what you started in this time together. So see what it wants to emerge and go back to it with curiosity and excitement. So thank you so much for saying that. And I love the idea of this going to the ocean.
Yes. So thank you. It's 7 of us in our group, and I'm looking forward to them joining us at another point. I just shared it with them yesterday.
Great. Yeah, feel free to
We
share
have a
the
Monday
recording,
writing group. Yeah. So I
maybe
shared.
the book and the practice, and you can all do the 7-day challenge together even.
Yeah. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
I enticed them with page 16 of your 31 day that I purchased back in 2020.
Nadia, can I just ask, do you ship internationally? Because Amazon does not, to where I wanted to ship a book.
You know what? Just send me an email and we'll work it out. We'll figure out how to get there. Yeah. I send me an email and we'll get the book wherever it needs to get. I love the idea. I've been mailing books slowly out to people in my Poetry of Attention class and putting books in the mail to Saudi Arabia, Japan, Australia. It was just really fun to see the different places. Poland, just lots of people in the UK, lots of people in Canada. So we can get the book where it needs to go.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Andrea from Montana.
Andrea.
I was just having a little bit of a rough time today, and this time of year is a little difficult for me as of late. But right now, after this class, I have just been left with a feeling that serenity is possible and available. And I just wanted to say that and say thank you so much for your classes, because they're amazing and they always help me find a little bit of grounding. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. That really is a gift. Thank you for sharing that with me.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Good.
This is Bashar from Nigeria.
Oh, well.
This is very nice and excellent performance, I can say, and I really appreciate your effort. Thank you very much, and I like further and further about it. And in fact, I kind of person that love reading and writing, remember. And with this, what you showed us today, I can say this is just the beginning and dreaming, and I hope my dream will be real. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And it's so nice that we're here from, different parts of the world. Thank you so much for saying that.
Yes.
Nadia.
Yes.
I was wondering is there a Facebook page where we can all continue to communicate with one another since it makes us feel good?
So I'm actually opening a membership program in the new year, and the first month or so will be free for everybody. So I invite you to join me there, and then there's going to be a really pretty low cost membership with live sessions a few times a month, so that and small breakout rooms and ways that people can be connected, because I'm really feeling like I sent out a questionnaire about like, are people interested in this, and I got a lot of positive feedback. A lot of people said they were interested, and I'm feeling like what we need at this time is community, places to gather together. And so it will be a place to come together with like-minded people and share, be in small groups, be in big groups. I'll be offering things for people there. So I'm glad you asked that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, I'm going to ring the singing bowl one more time, and I send love and all good wishes to all of you. Thank you so much for your presence, your comments, your heart. You will cultivate that light within you, cultivate your own fire, your own heat, your own love, your own creativity, and your silence. The creativity and the silence feed each other. Be very well, and I so look forward to staying connected. Thank you all again. Lots and lots of love. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.